There is a quiet moment that comes long after the goodbye, long after the anger fades and the noise settles, when a woman suddenly feels a weight in her chest and realizes the man she barely noticed while he was there now occupies her thoughts when he's gone. This is not weakness. This is not drama. This is something far more human and far more revealing. At first, the absence doesn't feel dramatic. It feels calm, almost relieving. There is space. There is silence. There is a sense of independence returning. She tells herself this is what she wanted, what she needed. The man who was always there, always patient, always steady, no longer fills the background of her life. And for a while, that feels like freedom. But psychology doesn't work on timelines we consciously choose. Emotional processing often lags behind decisions, and meaning has a way of arriving late, when defenses are already down. Women often bond emotionally through consistency, not intensity alone, not grand gestures, but reliability. The man who shows up, listens, remembers, stays calm when emotions rise, and remains available without demanding repayment becomes emotionally safe. And safety, while deeply comforting, can slowly become invisible. The nervous system adapts to it. What once felt special begins to feel normal. What feels normal is often mistaken for replaceable. This is where the first quiet shift happens. When emotional safety is always present, it stops being consciously appreciated. The brain no longer registers it as something that could disappear. Availability creates the illusion of permanence, and permanence reduces urgency. Desire often sharpens around uncertainty, while gratitude softens in familiarity. Not because a woman is careless, but because the human mind is wired to notice contrast more than consistency. She doesn't miss him yet, not really. She remembers the parts that frustrated her, the predictability, the lack of emotional highs. She remembers moments she felt bored or misunderstood. What she doesn't yet feel is the full shape of what he gave, because it hasn't fully vanished from her emotional memory. That realization needs space to form, and space takes time. Later, something subtle changes. She encounters moments that used to feel effortless. A bad day with no one to ground her, a success with no one who truly knows her history to celebrate it with, conversations that feel stimulating but not safe, attention that feels exciting but shallow. And somewhere in those moments, a question forms that she doesn't answer right away. Why does this feel different? Why does something feel missing even when someone new is present? This is where comparison begins, often unconsciously. The mind doesn't compare in words, but in sensations. How safe did I feel then versus now? How understood? How calm? How seen without having to perform? The man she once took for granted begins to appear not as he was, but as what he represented: stability, emotional availability, presence without pressure. And now that those qualities are no longer accessible, they gain weight. Absence has a psychological effect that presence never could. When someone is gone, the mind fills in gaps. It softens rough edges. It replays moments selectively. This isn't intentional distortion. It's emotional processing. The brain revisits memories to extract meaning it didn't recognize before. And meaning is often clearer in hindsight than in real time. At this stage, regret doesn't announce itself loudly. It whispers. It shows up as curiosity, a random thought, a sudden memory triggered by something ordinary, a song, a phrase, a place. She wonders how he's doing, not because she wants him back immediately, but because her nervous system recognizes something familiar and grounding that is no longer available. Attachment patterns play a powerful role here. When someone is emotionally consistent, the attachment bond forms quietly. There are no dramatic highs or lows to signal its importance. But once that bond is disrupted, the body reacts, not with logic, but with sensation. A sense of loss without a clear label, a longing without a clear request. And this is where confusion often begins. She may ask herself why she feels this now when she didn't feel it then. Why clarity arrives after distance. Why appreciation blooms after loss. The uncomfortable answer is that appreciation often requires contrast, and contrast requires absence. When someone is always there, their value is assumed. When they're gone, their impact becomes measurable. There's a moment many people don't talk about when she realizes she didn't just lose a man, she lost a version of herself, the version that felt emotionally held, the version that didn't have to explain her feelings from scratch, the version that was met with patience instead of resistance. And this realization can be unsettling because it shifts the narrative from "he wasn't right for me" to "I didn't fully see what I had." This doesn't mean she was wrong to leave. It doesn't mean he was perfect. It means emotional understanding evolves. People grow into awareness, not out of it, and growth often includes revisiting past connections with new eyes. The pain comes not from missing the man alone, but from recognizing the gap between what was available and what was valued. If you're finding this perspective meaningful so far, and you want to explore more insights about relationships, emotional psychology, and personal growth, this is a good moment to subscribe to the channel. These conversations go deeper than surface-level advice, and there's much more ahead that may surprise you. After this point, the missing deepens, but it also matures. It's no longer just longing. It becomes understanding. She sees how emotional consistency is rare, how patience is not passive, how availability is not weakness. She begins to notice how many connections are built on excitement but collapse under pressure, how many people offer attention but not presence. This is often when she realizes that what she once perceived as not enough was actually stability, and what she later perceived as more was often just stimulation. The nervous system confuses intensity with connection, especially when emotional safety is unfamiliar or undervalued. But intensity burns fast. Safety endures quietly. There's another layer here that's even harder to face. Sometimes missing him means confronting her own patterns. The tendency to undervalue what feels secure. The attraction to what feels uncertain. The habit of equating calm with boredom. These patterns are learned, not chosen, but awareness brings responsibility, and responsibility can be uncomfortable. She may replay conversations in her mind, noticing moments she dismissed, minimized, or didn't fully receive, not with self-hatred, but with curiosity. What was I protecting myself from? What did I think I needed that I already had? These questions don't demand immediate answers. They linger. They reshape future choices. The man she misses may never know the depth of this realization. Often, these insights remain internal. Pride, timing, or life circumstances may prevent reconnection, but the impact remains. It influences how she shows up in future relationships, what she prioritizes, what she no longer overlooks, and in this way, missing him becomes a teacher rather than a punishment. There is something quietly transformative about understanding loss without resentment, about honoring what someone gave without idealizing them, about holding gratitude and regret in the same space. This emotional maturity doesn't erase the past, but it reframes it. It allows growth to emerge from reflection instead of bitterness. And yet, there's still one more layer that many people don't expect. Sometimes she doesn't miss him because he was extraordinary. She misses him because he was consistent in a world that isn't, because he didn't make her earn care, because he stayed. And staying, when it's no longer common, leaves a mark that doesn't fade easily. This is why the missing often comes late, not because she didn't care, but because understanding takes time. Emotional value is sometimes recognized only after it's no longer accessible. And that recognition, while painful, can also be clarifying. If this reflection resonated with you, if it made you pause, think, or see past experiences differently, consider subscribing to the channel. There are more conversations like this waiting for you, each one exploring the psychology beneath human connection, loss, and growth. And the next insight might be the one that changes how you see your own story.